Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of eHeroes. For those keeping count, this is episode 272. And for all you entrepreneurs out there that have trouble with systems, systems just blow your mind sometimes because it's just confusing. I brought on Scott Perry, who I believe is probably one of the best people you can learn from when it comes to systems and creating purpose with all your creatives. So, Scott, welcome and thanks for being here.
Really, really thrilled to be here, Rob. It's a privilege, and I'm looking forward to diving in and spending this time with you.
I in all the episodes that I've been doing this for, we've been doing this for a couple years now, and I think at least one we've touched on systems just about in every single
Mm.
episode because it's something that every entrepreneur out there struggles with. And no matter how many times we drill it into our brains, the systems never get done.
Yeah.
It's people want shortcuts, and I get that. But one of the things that I always have told people is trust the process. There is a process, trust it. You know, even if you have to write it down, if you have a systems book, write it down so that the next person can at least learn from it. Do they do it? No, never.
Well, I love that. I love that phrase, "Trust the process." It's something that my friend and mentor Seth Godin said with great frequency when I was working with him in the Akimbo workshops. And the thing about why trust the process? Well, another friend and mentor, Nick Peterson, says the process is the shortcut. And that's actually what systems thinking and systems reliability is really all about is if you want to reduce risk, collapse time, and create certainty for getting the things that you want in life and business, you have to understand that it's all based on systems. And there's that famous Edward Deming quote, every system is perfectly designed to get the results it gets. So if you have I don't know if we can use profanity here, but if you have a shitty system, it's going to get you shitty results. If you have an efficient system that is built upon only the essential elements and components necessary, and you are dedicated to a daily discipline of raising the floor on whatever happens to be the least efficient element of that system in the moment, your system will become more efficient, it will become more effective, and you will get achieve your life priorities or business priorities much sooner and much faster and much more consistently than you could ever imagine. But here's the thing that I think speaks to your point, and that is, yes, we trust the process because the process is the shortcut. But before we can trust the process, we have to first trust ourselves.
Mhm.
And if you look at system reliability, the least efficient system element or component of any system is the human being pulling the levers and pushing the buttons. And so nobody likes to hear it, but when you are helping someone create efficient and effective processes and systems that help them achieve their life and business priorities, you're really working not on fixing the system so much as you are working on fixing the human, because better humans build better systems, and better systems get you closer to what you want in life and business.
Mhm. There's a sign right in back of you called "Less is more," and that's always been my philosophy. Keep it simple. And I look at what people are doing right now and adding funnel upon funnel upon funnel to their automation, and I'm thinking, what the hell? I mean, no, stop. Keep it simple. But they look at the shiny object. They think, oh my God, this is the next. This is the elevation to my system. No, it's the elevation to you having a nervous breakdown because it's too much. There's, I think there's very simple ways to create processes and systems. And when you convolute it with extra stuff or stuff that is out of your control or knowledge, all you're doing is making your life more miserable.
Yeah, well, I totally agree, and in the end, it's not really anyone's fault because we are programmed by biology and evolution to chase after more. We are additive creatures. Take a look around the room you're in. You can see I've got books stacked upon books on my bookcase and on my floor that I've just recognized are
I got
ascending
you. Mhm.
above the camera line. Um, it's what we're programmed for.
Yeah.
And the problem is that more does not get us closer to what we want. More actually gets us further away. And so, less is more is behind me. My wife bought me that sign. Well, she kind of bought it for herself, and then I stole it because I needed it more than she did. Because it's really because I am and have been the worst culprit of them all when it comes to thinking, "Oh, more will get me closer." If I just, add this new tactic, this new tool, this new software, this new app to my process, that is a silver bullet. That's the missing link. That's the one thing that will help me get the things I want, and all it does is drive down my system efficiency.
Mhm.
Um, so less is more is there to remind I spend a lot of time doing this, so I see that sign a lot of the day. And yet I when some guru, trickster, hacker, charlatan starts showing me something that I've never really seen before, I've got to check it out. And my credit card is out and I am fighting that battle to like, hey, dude, you can't, this is not going to get you closer. You actually,
Yeah.
uh, for me, my inclination to chase more is a reminder that it's time to go through my system again and prune all the things that I've added that are not adding any efficiency or effectiveness to my system, but
Right.
actually doing the opposite. So, more does not equal closer, less is more. Um, and yet, when we are practicing less is more, we're actually fighting against most of our human instincts and intuition, which is why it's so important to surround yourself with, people like Rob and people like the people Rob and I hang out with because they help us stay on course and on track when it comes to falling prey to our false beliefs and biases.
Yeah. Yeah. And now, granted that we're all individuals, and we do have our own set of personalities and idiosyncrasies, and beliefs. But when it comes to systems, we have to make them what I call dummy proof,
Hmm.
because how I do things and how you do things are a little different. But when it comes to running the business, this is how we do it. And if you can find a way to make it simpler and more effective, great. But it's in this manual for you to learn how to do it as simple as possible. But, you know, and I know that, I work jobs where I would try to make things simpler. And the boss would say, "Well, Rob, that's not how we do it. You have to go through all these steps." I said, "Yeah, but why?" And so every day I'm like, "Okay, is this the simplest way to do it?" And we're kind of going backwards to this whole process thing, and we have to trust the process. Yes, we are trusting it. We are also trying to make it simpler. And once we get it to the simplest way, it's best. You know, you don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah,
You know, but
yeah.
this is how I crank out all these books every year. People are like, "Well, Rob, I can't even write one book. How did you do 43 in 10 years?" I have a process. I trust that process. And if I didn't trust the process, I couldn't get the books done. It's just the way it is.
Well, I want to latch on to that for a second because your prolific book writing is a great example of is a great testimony to what happens when you have an efficient system. And I'll just reflect from my own experience. I had no aspirations of ever being an author. It never crossed my mind until about 2016, when I was shifting from a long and happy career as a professional musician and guitar studio owner to doing what I'm doing now, even though in 2016 I didn't know what that was. I knew I wanted to do something different. Life was calling me to do something different. I was getting lots of signals that it would look like coaching, but I was resisting that and fighting against that. But I was processing a lot of new to me big ideas, principles and philosophical ideas, and some strategic and tactical things that I needed to move beyond just knowing. I think there's a difference between knowing and learning. Knowing is when you've collected a lot of information. Like, yeah, you can know a lot of things, and it will do you absolutely no good, because the learning
Mhm.
comes from employing that knowledge in some sort of meaningful enterprise or endeavor. And so writing became my tool for repurposing and reframing and rearticulating all these things in ways that made sense to me, that helped me remember them and helped me put them into action. And I was about 100 days into or 100 articles into a blogging practice when I finally realized, oh, there's like a theme here. Like, I could just repurpose all this stuff with a little bit of tweaking. It's actually a book.
Mhm.
Well, I know that you talked with a lot of authors. A lot of the folks that come to me through my books. We talked about this off before we started recording, and so oftentimes people will ask, "Well, how do you write a book?"
Mhm.
Well, let's the way that this applies to process and system thinking is you have to begin with reasoning from first principles. And first principles thinking says, okay, so what's required to write a book? Well, you have to have an I you have to have a reader in mind, an idea that you want to convey to that reader, and you have to put a bunch of words on a page. That's what it takes to write a book. Because a book that doesn't have a reader is not a book. It's a paperweight. So, if you like fundamentally say those are the three things I need, then there's the process for, well, how to identify what my topic is, or what this project's about. How do I identify the audience? And I think you can approach those, either one of those first. Sometimes you write a book that your audience wants to read, and sometimes you write a book and then you find the audience that will read it. But ultimately, the real process and the system reliability piece comes in. How do you get those words on a page? And again, my friend and mentor Seth Godin talks a lot about, has a lot of wonderful rants against writer's block. It's a construct for people that want to hide from doing the work of writing. You've never, if you have the capacity to speak, have you ever had speaker's block? Probably not, because that's all. You start speaking, and suddenly the things that you want to say make themselves clear and apparent. And so, how do whether you believe in writer's block or not, and I do not. Um, you have to come up with this. How am I going to start putting words on a page? Well, the wrong way to do it is say, I'm going to write 3 pages a day, because
Mhm.
3 pages a
Yeah.
day is a really heavy lift.
Yeah.
Um, another wrong approach would be, well, I'll sit down and wait for inspiration to come visit me. It's like, no, inspiration doesn't actually work that way. Inspiration visits those that inspiration wants their ideas to be made manifest in the world. They are looking for people that are actually working. They're
Mm.
not looking for people sitting and waiting. Um, the hardest part about sitting down to start writing is sitting down.
Mhm.
So make a 1 minute habit. Every morning at 6 a.m., I sit down and I write for 1 minute. Now, once I've sat down and wrote for a minute, the likelihood that I'm going to write for additional minutes is very, very high. It might be that I get 3 pages, but even if I only get 3 sentences, I still wrote something. I got something done, and if you do that daily, it compounds and, in whatever amount of time, you've got a book.
Mhm.
The other thing is you get to decide what a book is. My first book publication on Amazon was 3 pages long. It's not
Wow.
technically a book, but I called it a pamphlet. I let people know what it was. Um, but it published and it sells to this day. And you've received one of my books. It's about what 120 pages or so. Most of my books are
This
in
one
that.
is called Onward, and it's,
Yeah,
let's see, 88 pages.
there you go. There you go. Not even 100 pages. So just establish what's necessary and then figure out how to um, raise the floor on those components. If it takes words on a page to make a book, figure out what's the minimum viable step for putting words on a page. 1 minute a day writing habit. Because if you write for a
You
minute,
know,
you might.
with the Rob Versus books, when, I put those together, it started out with just me sharing my sarcastic adventures with scammers, and so I took 50 stories, assembled them into a book, and I sent it out, and I said, "Hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of this?" And I asked, a whole bunch of people, and one person says, "Well, it's just a collection of stories." Well, isn't that what Chicken Soup for the Soul is? It's a collection of stories. So I put it together, and it sold like crazy. And I thought, okay, let's do a sequel. I have all this extra material left over. And now there's 8 books in the series. The latest one was Rob versus the Nincompoops. I have enough material for 2 more books.
Wow.
And the simple thing is I write these adventures down every day, sometimes 2 or 3 because they're just incessant in calling me all the time. And so I just then compile the stories, put them in a book, write an intro and do some other stuff. Bingo, the book. I mean, it writes itself. Nowadays, I mean, it's just I have this simple process now. It's just, and then for other people, when I write their books, I interview them, like whether it be a Zoom or Google Hangout. I record it, transcribe everything, so I have all the notes, and then rewrite it, and it sounds like them. I mean, it's in their tone, it's in their voice, it's got their personality. So when someone reads the book, they're like, "Wow, it's like I'm in the room with them." It doesn't sound like Rob, it sounds like the person that I'm putting on the cover.
I
And
love that.
and for me, that became just a very easy process because if you knew me from high school, if you knew me from grammar school, you knew I was like the worst person. I couldn't spell. I get the words wrong. I mean, now it's like, wow, Rob, you write books. When did that happen? So,
Yeah. Oh, I was definitely the least likely to write a book,
yeah.
uh, in my class. I love what you shared because, just to reflect 2 other easy ways of going about it. One of my clients was a prolific podcaster that decided that she needed to have a book and was really struggling with trying to. It's like, you have 300 conversations with people that are providing health advice.
Mhm.
Got a book. Take the transcripts, do a little, organizing, and uh, editing, and the book is more or less already written. And another, I was a coach in Bernadette Jiwa's story skills workshop for a season, and one of the tips that I would share with people that were really struggling to type words to a page is get a voice to text app and speak your book.
Mhm.
You'll have a first draft a minute. And I mean, now with AI,
Yeah.
and you could you could be one of those people that has AI write you a shitty book and publish a shitty AI book, but you can also really leverage AI as a writing partner, and
Mhm.
it will help you write. a better than shitty first draft
Yeah.
that you can then and then continue to work with you as you revise and improve and edit,
Well,
and you
and
can
here's another one,
go out.
my book, Lessons from the Dojo, which I launched in 2015, that came about because I was sharing all these quotes on my Facebook group called the Business Dojo. So I would take all these quotes and I came up with like 101 of them. And I thought, well, how do I systematize all these into different categories? And at the time, my kids were taking karate, and I thought, oh, how do I just take a bunch of them and put them in different belt levels? And that's what I did. So the whole book is like a giant karate lesson for business owners. And you start off in a white belt, and you learn all these lessons, and the green belt, brown belt, black belt, whatever, and it just takes you through the next. And so I expanded on all these quotes with my take on what that quote meant. And so I launched that in 2015, and like the book struggled for like 6 months. People didn't get it, and then it took off. And people are like, "Well, wow, this is a great book." It's very because you could pick it up, put it down. Every page was a different lesson, and it was just very easy to put together and write. And I think from start to finish took me 30 days.
Yeah. Oh,
But
that's interesting.
I think people look at a book and think, wow, I have to write this 300-page manual and I have to do this, this, and this. And no, your book is how, like you said, it could be 50 pages, it could be 3 pages, it could be 150 pages. I keep mine between 120 and 150 because I want to keep them um, easy to read.
Mhm.
I don't want people to feel intimidated. I want them to be able to pick them up, take them up, you know, and when they page through it, I don't use a lot of big words. So for, the average person, they can get through it in an hour and a half read. And that's, that you just try to keep it simple. And for me, the whole process for all the books I've ever, I think out of all the books I've produced, there's only two of them that exceed 300 pages. And, that's just because the client wanted all that information in there. They could have split it and made two books, but the books turned out nice, you know. But again, it's them sharing their stories of their adventures dealing with their types of clients. And I think that if every entrepreneur took the time once a week to write down, a story that happened that week regarding how they treated a customer or however, whatever they want to share, and then just comprise those weekly stories into a book, they'd have something that they could share with everybody.
Yeah, yeah. It's powerful.
But it's just I think there's a lot of people out there that are intimidated to write a book. They're scared to write a book. They don't know how to. They don't know the process. And for me, it was all learning. You know, I created this manuscript for my very first book. I shopped it around. Everybody wanted complicated stuff, and I'm like, no, I want to keep this book simple. I want to keep it so that everybody can understand it and make it easy for people. And when the other publishers decided that they didn't want it, I created my own company and did it my way.
Yeah,
And so now I have a second form of income because I'm a book producer now. But I am writing my own books, which now people are like, wow, you write your own books, you got this, you do that. It was just, extension of the process that took me this way.
yeah. Well, when I see the number of books that you've written and I see your content on social media and I see, the volume of both, I think, wow, that's a really productive guy. But, I am also aware as someone who has been accused of being a productivity machine that, um, you know, well, number one, productivity is not a measure of progress. And the people that are making progress that appear to be highly productive are actually really masterful at doing doing a few things really, really well and doing them in ways that only uh, require the you know the minimum amount of effort
Mhm,
and energy and attention and so forth. So I definitely really get that. And yet you referenced the thing that holds people back, and that speaks to what we kind of opened with, which is this idea that you know the process is a shortcut. Trust the process, but before you can do any of that, you have to trust yourself. And my favorite Goethe quote is, "As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live."
mhm,
And I think that one of the things about lessons from a dojo is it is and you and I both do quite a bit of writing and talking about this. It's about the process of self mastery. Like, how do you like for me, the system for becoming an self-actualized human being that's living into and developing their potential is that the three elements that get, or the two steps that happen before you get there is first you have to be self-aware. Like, you have to actually realize what a idiot you are. Like, you have to be able to see all the many magical, wonderful ways, fascinating ways that you limit yourself and get in your own way and trip yourself up and sabotage yourself. You have to be able to recognize and acknowledge those things and accept that what's done is done,
mhm,
so that you can move to the next step, which is self-efficacy. How do I unlearn the helplessness of the way I've been, and
mhm,
how do I learn the skills and practice the mindsets that's going to allow me to start to remove the limits that I put in my own way and build the habits and change the way I behave
mhm,
so that I can finally become this self-actualized, better version of myself that actually is capable of achieving my life and business priorities in less time with less risk and with less effort, and have some freaking fun while you're doing it. And that's the piece that I just definitely see missing in what I see is, all these people that are preaching hustle and grind, and
oh, no, I
uh,
just no,
it's just absolutely ridiculous because I mean, it speaks to a very, 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 very small percentage of the population that can do that, and most people end up grinding themselves to dust. They
yeah,
are profoundly unhappy along the way, and even if they get what they set out to achieve, it doesn't they're not fulfilled or satisfied or happy. The game of life is a game, and games are meant to be played. So,
yeah,
part of the process be having fun as well.
I limit my day to about 4 to 5 hours a day, that's it. I hyper focus, I get stuff done, and then I go and yeah, like the other day, yesterday, I took yesterday off. I had fun with my granddaughter. We went out to I live near about an hour away from Hershey Chocolate World.
Mhm.
We went there, took a tour, got some chocolate, came home. Most people that are doing this whole hustle grind thing, they forget about their family. They forget about their friends. They forget about fun. And they just constantly thinking about business, 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 business. You can't always do that, you know? And sometimes you need downtime. Well, most times you need downtime because if you know, I've always discovered, and especially during the summer, I'll take a couple hours and work in the garden, work on my yard, mow my yard, put my headphones on, and I get the most brilliant, you know, time so that I can think, come up with ideas, and for me, it's I get more inspiration on the downtime than I do trying to be busy.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, I'd love that. I think that's another insight that's really worth unpacking a little bit more because, like you, I mean, my time in my business or doing my business is 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. And The first 2 hours of every morning are doing the things that I have to do, responding to the emails, putting up the social media content, um, editing the video from the previous day, whatever. The kind of stuff that just has to get done. That's maybe not a well, I'm a weirdo. I like all that stuff, but um, and then from from 7 a.m. well, now 6 a.m. till noon, I am totally that's I'm taking care of my grandson. My wife is working for those 5 hours, and then from noon until 5 or 4 when our grandson gets picked up, that's flex time. I have 2 hours, 2 of those hours I'm doing client calls and making
Mhm.
earning my living, and the rest I get to do whatever the hell I want. So, I mean, literally, there's at least 8 hours a day where I'm just pretty much doing whatever the hell I wanna do,
Yeah.
and I'm able to make a full-time living working very part-time hours. My weekends are totally mine,
Mhm.
and, that's the power, and, you just said the same thing, and you're reflected the same thing in your experience. That's the power of investing the time and effort and the brain power into creating a efficient, effective system
Mhm.
for taking care of business, so that because if you don't take care of business, business is going to take care of you. And so I love that you've designed that same kind of
And like you though, is every day I probably spend at least 1 hour every day working on my own marketing. And people are like, "Well, Rob, you help people all over the world. You do this, you do." Yeah, and I do that because of that 1 hour every day working on my own stuff, whether it be a book, whether it be my marketing, whether everything that has to do for the benefit of my own company, I'm always working on every day. Because, I know so many consultants who will spend all their time helping other people with their marketing. They forget to market themselves. And when
Mhm.
those clients are no longer needed, I mean, those clients no longer need the service and they go somewhere else, guess what? That consultant has no work because he hasn't marketed himself. I always keep my marketing going because I want also my clients to understand that I'm going to do the same thing for them. If they see my stuff constantly, I want them to understand that this is what we're going to do for them so that their stuff is being seen by everyone. It's just, you have to work on your own marketing every day.
Oh yeah,
Got to.
totally agree. Yeah, and one of the things that I see in what you do, and something that I try to do, it's something that I learned from Laurel Portier, who just published a really fabulous book called Super Duper Profitable Ads. She's kind of a social media ad guru, or not. Well, she would hate it if I called her a guru. She's a social media ad teacher, expert, rock star, and she really helped flip my script around Facebook ads and how ads can be used to amplify effective marketing that's already working. But the way that and again, I see this in what you do, and I try to do this myself, and it's definitely something she does really, really well. Is her marketing 99% of it is her doing her work out loud and in public,
Hmm.
letting people look over the shoulder while she just does what she does, and shows people how she works her magic, and showing people, getting results for people while other people are looking in, and it's again that productivity versus progress. If you are putting all of your daily tasks into these silos, you're just creating all sorts of not just additional work, but lots of um, lots of dissonance in your life because you have to switch gears all
Yeah.
the time. The way I approach it is I'm always getting multiple uh, multiple kind of benefits from everything I do. When I do a broadcast like we're doing now, yes, that is in some ways a marketing piece because I'm earning allegiance capital and building an authority loop because I'm next to a rock star like Rob while I'm on camera. but I'm also going to repurpose that into a podcast episode, a YouTube video. It's going to become, a clip will become something that's used for social media. It will also be used in a blog post. I mean, I'm getting as many as 8 to 12 repurposings from everything I do. And so, when someone accuses me of being a productivity machine, it's like, no, I'm not a productivity machine. I am a repurposing machine. I know how to get the most, squeeze every ounce value out of every minute that I
Right.
invest in creating one piece of content. That
Yeah.
thing is going to get repurposed until there's nothing left to give.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think we forget about all that. We think, okay, we just have to do this once. No, I mean, well, there's so many social media networks out there, and we're told by the gurus to be on all of them. I'm going to tell you, pick three. Pick three and dominate those. I mean, I do Facebook, I do LinkedIn, and I do YouTube. You know, sometimes you'll find me on TikTok. I hate TikTok. I hate Twitter. Um, but I know that's some of my audience is there. So I put all my stuff in a repository on a program that I use. Press a button. I tell it when to post certain things, and it does it for me. And it does it for my clients. And so now it's posting all the stuff I want it to post of all the stuff I've already created in the past. I'm just resharing it over and over and over again. And it saves me 20 hours a week that I can go do something else. So,
Yeah, yeah,
so it looks like I'm everywhere, but I'm not. Um, but I want people to still look at the content. I still want people to react, but I'm not on Threads. I stopped going to all those other social networks that nobody's on. I focus on where people are and what I want to, what message I want to give them. And I find that right now we're LinkedIn is where all the business owners are, uh, the executives, the ones that have money. So that's where I spend a lot of my time.
yeah. No, I think it's really important to be strategic about where you do show up, and not only where, but why and with what, and how you approach it all. And I mean, I have clients that are super effective, with, just one social media platform, and I have some that don't aren't on any social
Yeah,
media, but they're leveraging maybe just a podcast as their means, or a newsletter or something like that. I mean, there's you reference the gurus, and I accidentally referred to my friend as one. She is not, but guru used to be actually a term of praise back in ancient times, and we've turned, now we use it to, describe someone that, y it's become a substitute for the word
mhm,
charlatan in
yeah,
my estimation, because most of the people that we think of, as the gurus, are people that, have created something that used to work in the past, and it used to work for them,
mhm,
and now they're going to sell it at a very high ticket to you, because they have this story, the success story associated with it based on their experience, and then after they've extracted all your money and you've gotten no results, they'll tell you, "Oh, dude, you didn't have your mindset right, or you didn't do all your homework right," and so, um, you know, just a cautionary tale to everyone. There's no way that playing someone else's game is going to create a game of life that you can win, because
right,
you can't win your game if you're playing someone else's. And you should be very, very wary of anyone that's selling something, that's prescriptive. Here is, the formula, the roadmap, the blueprint, whatever it is. There are no silver bullets. There are no roadmaps. You are a unique person with, a a difference only you can make in the world, and you're going to have to figure out how to find your way to define that difference in a way that speaks to the kind of people that share your values and need your talents to enhance their lives, and put that and find the places where you can put that offer in front of those people, and
Right,
there's no roadmap for that. You need a compass,
right,
and I look at you and I, Rob, as people that are really good uh, guides that are able to teach people how to use a compass so that they can find their way to the destination where they want to get to,
right.
and do that with a greater sense, with greater clarity, with greater confidence, in less time, with less effort, with less risk, and have a little bit of fun while they're doing it.
Right. And we've talked about the whole process thing and trusting the process, but that process also has a time. And it's for me it took a long time. Over a 20-year period, probably 25-year period to be able to get to where I am, you know. And some people that process is a year, 5 years, 10 years. And you know, yes, there are ways that maybe you can make that process go a little quicker, but don't think that just because you're following a set of rules that you're going to speed up that process, because you yourself need the time to learn. You need the time to, understand the mistakes that you're making, and that'll contribute to that process. And every time I see someone say, "Well, I'm going to do that in 6 months," I just sit back and laugh because I know that in 6 months they're not going to have anything accomplished. They're going to fail, and then they're going to blame it on the person who gave them the process to follow. So knowing that it's a long term goal or game, um, I know a lot of people like to play games, and but I don't consider it a game. I consider it, kind of, if you think of it as this is going to be your new lifestyle, you know. But in order to get to that point, these are the rules that you have to follow. This is the process, you know. I don't know if that makes sense, but for me, it was always a long term. It was always a long term thing.
Well, there's two undefeated players in the history of the world, and they are time and randomness. Uh, Time passes regardless,
Right.
and nobody's been figured out how to make more of it. And random things are going to happen. Everything is beyond your control, other than your power to frame and reframe yourself and your situation, and decide and do what it is that needs to be done next. And the thing that you're speaking to is, if you if you can extend the time that you're going to take to get where you want to go, you have given yourself a runway that is going to be a lot more joyful and efficient, because you're not going to be distracted and derailed by things that happen because of urgency, and expediency. And you've also set yourself up for randomness to become your teammate, because every every disaster is someone else's opportunity. Every obstacle is someone else's opportunity, and every obstacle has an opportunity within it. So, um, and you can also collapse time. The more clear you are about who you are and what you're good at and where you belong and where you're heading to, and the more clarity and confidence you have about the design of your system, and your process for raising the floor on whatever happens to be the least efficient component in the moment. um, More efficient systems are more effective, and you can collapse time by just doing the right things at the right time in the right order, and paying attention to the pieces that need to be found, fixed, or fine tuned along the way. So, time and randomness, undefeated. And if there's a couple of undefeated players on the field, I want them on my team, and I think that's how you do it.
So how do people find you? Where do they go?
Easiest place to find me is creativeonpurpose.com. If you would like some weekly doses of insight and inspiration that will inspire the kind of intentional action that will help you achieve your life and business priorities with greater purpose and prosperity and peace of mind, um, the website creativeonpurpose.com has plenty of links that will get you to my Substack publication. That's where my readership, my subscriber community is. You can once you've signed up for the publication, there's all sorts of trainings that we do every month that will help you achieve your life and business priorities. And if you decide to become a paid subscriber, you'll have additional opportunities to meet with me on a weekly basis, and we'll work together to make things better for you.
And there you go, everybody. That's what makes Scott an e-hero, and I think this was an awesome podcast because everybody's learning how to collapse time, and in order to do that, you have to trust the process. And as I explained earlier, that there's certain processes that I use to hyper focus to get all these books produced over a period of time, but also with the social content that I put out every day. It's saved me 20 hours a week. So without a process, I'd still be on the keyboard all the time, in front of the computer, not having a life. So look for these simple things that you can do to simplify your business. Contact Scott. You know, subscribe to his Substack. Look at all the articles he's put out, and I'm looking at some of them now, and it's a lot of them. So anyway, go to what is it? Creativeonpurpose.com.
That's it.
There you go. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Adios.
Thanks.